Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome in to a 100% digital, virtual, streaming version of the Rob Brown Show right here on ESPN Upstate, social media channels. We are preempted today by college basketball as we wanted to bring you all of the March Madness. We wanted to make sure you guys were not missing out on a moment of what has been an absolutely wild tournament thus far. So, all your local programming today moving to the social media side of things. 3 different streams coming to you today. Zoe and I are going to be here for about an hour talking about who knows what. Obviously, a lot of basketball, but you know how Zoe and I work when we have radio restrictions placed on it. Today, those don't exist, ladies and gentlemen. So it may get a bit weird in here for the next, let's call it 60-ish question mark moments. Then,
weird. You mean weirder?
Weirder. That is exactly
yes.
what I meant.
I mean, come on.
It may get even more unusual than it usually is. Then at 2 o'clock this afternoon, I will be doing a stream joined by John Harkes, the head coach of the Greenville Triumph Greenville. And this is actually really cool this weekend, Lonzo. And by the way, I should introduce today, Zoe, and this is a true statement. Today, you are truly a co-host as I am the producer today. So we should have called it the Lonzo Show today. Is what we should have done.
Well, some texters think it's that already. So, I mean, why not? Yes, I do enjoy the freedom of not having to push any buttons.
It's a welcome respite for the great one, Colonel Grudge, the Alpha and the Omega of Sports Talk Radio himself, Lonzo, over in the network studio. So,
did you know that there's a D&D character? He is a dwarf who has the Book of Grudges.
It's you. You made that. That's all you.
No. There actually is a character because my son told me about this guy, and I forget his name. But we're going to have to, I'm going to have to send you a link to this guy because he is my hero.
I love it. Zoe and I are, and we will share this with zero hesitation, both D&D nerds. Both of us play. And by the way, it amazes me. This is not what we're going to talk about, but I am compelled to say it now. It amazes me the list of actually cool celebrities who have gotten into D&D over the years, like Vin Diesel plays. Joe, what's his last name? The dude from the Magic Mike movies.
Mango Galileo.
That's the one. Exactly the one.
He has a bigger role in the Snyder Cut, but you'll just have to wait and see it.
Yes, I will. And we will be talking about that later on as well. But it's not just we're not just nerds who live in the basement anymore, kids. Even the cool guys are jumping in. They're about 30 years late, but it is what it is. All right, so here's what we got going on for you today. We got this stream for about an hour where Zoe and I are just going to be talking to y'all online. So if you're watching this stream today more than ever, throw your comments in. Whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, wherever you found this stream, drop your comments in the box. They'll populate right here on the screen for us. Zoe and I can read them and interact with you during the course of the show. And this is going to be a heavily interactive digital broadcast. We want you guys as part of the show today. So leave your comments, leave your thoughts, leave your chats. We're going to address them as we go in real time over the next hour or so.
I'm probably going to interrupt you more than usual just because it's not on the air. But I have to ask this question before we really get into what do you do when everyone around you leaves their social media logged in? Because I've talked to these guys about it to stop doing it. And they still keep doing it. They still keep their stuff logged in. The temptation is too great to put something on their social media so they will learn to log out when they're done.
Here's what I'm going to do. Those of you watching the stream, send us in the chat a funny message that Lonzo should post on someone else's social media who left themselves logged in the studio. Don't tell us who it is that left themselves logged in, Zoe, though I do have some guesses. The options are limited.
Yeah, they are limited, so yeah.
Those of you watching in the chat, leave us a funny message that we can pop up into the social media of whoever left themselves logged into the studio. Whoever gives us the biggest LOLs by the end of the day, Zoe will pop that message into their news feed on social media.
I also want to point out that it's not just this radio station. Because I work on 2 radio stations. I am having this problem on both stations.
That just means more opportunity for the lulls.
But there's also a little thing. Technically, I'm the boss of all these people.
Sure.
So I mean, so do we consider this a lesson to I don't want to say underlings because that's a bad word, to subordinates?
How is that less of a bad word?
What, subordinate?
Yeah.
It's because it has multi-syllables. Duh.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, anything with a lot of syllables, it just makes it sound, more official.
SAT word of the day. I respect it. All right, what should Zoe leave in the social media of the people who stay logged in? Funniest message in the chat between now and the end of the show. Zoe puts it into their social media. I will gladly take the heat for it, should any heat arise. So, this one for an hour. 2 o'clock, John Harkes of the Greenville Triumph, head coach of the Greenville Triumph, is going to join us. The Greenville Triumph had a moment in history this weekend. Zoe, they went one-on-one with an MLS team. DC United from the nation's capital. They met over in Cary and had themselves a little off-season exhibition. Kind of a cool moment for the Triumph. We are actually going to talk to John Harkes, the head coach, right here on the stream coming up at 2 o'clock. And then coming up at 3 p.m. as ya boy runs triple duty today. I'll be joining Mark Ryan, not Ryan, for a digital version of Offsides today.
All right, you got to do something for me. All right, so what are and you need to work this in as much as you can.
Okay.
What is Oral Roberts? What is their mascot?
They are the Golden Eagles.
So if you can work in Golden Eagles as many times as possible during your time with Mark Ryan, I, for one, would appreciate it, and so would others out there.
Would be happy to do so. Would be more than happy to do so. I know that Mark Ryan is having himself a day today. He's not thrilled. So am I going to take an opportunity for an hour and a half to taunt and poke at Mark Ryan, Lonzo? I obviously am. I know we're going to get into basketball. Might as well do it now. So I was very disappointed in the loss to Oral Roberts by the Ohio State Buckeyes. And then I saw who they were playing. And I just want to say, I shouldn't be happy about the loss of another person, but I am. So when Oral Roberts was playing Florida, I recorded it because I was going to watch it later, but I was keeping track of the score while I was watching the wrestling pay-per-view last night, and then I saw how close it was. And the pay-per-view ended just in time for me to watch the last minute of the game. So I had this decision: do I watch the entire game, or do I just watch the last minute? Because if Oral Roberts were to lose, then there's no sense in me watching the entire thing. But they didn't; they won. So, Oral Roberts, my new team, and I'm rooting for them to go all the way. I see
them and Abilene Christian.
I see that you've already taken the advice of Matt Tomlinson, who says, "Tell Alonzo to give the fans what they want and let the hair fly free."
Well, as you know, and I don't want this to all be about me, but
you got the haircut. You took your vacation week.
I did
the haircut.
I also got new kicks, and I got the oil change. I tried to put the kicks up. I'm not sure I can get it on camera. Here, we'll see.
And then Matt says, can we be 100% certain that Lonzo is not actually just a slightly aged version of Doc Antle? No, he can't be. Look at Lonzo rocking the dad kicks today. The daddest
they are not.
Dad has ever dadded. Well,
they are not dad kicks, by the way.
The daddest.
They're Nikes, dude. They are not Nike. By the way, had this conversation with my daughter yesterday.
Because I'm not the only one who knows their dad kicks.
No. She accused me of, at one point in my life, wearing New Balance or Skechers. I was angry over this because I will never wear Skechers nor New Balance. I am a Nike guy through and through, always wear Nike. I don't get the dad kicks things. What do I have to, what do I have to pay $300 to get some some Nike Jordans? And then you'll say, well, look at you trying to be a kid. I mean, there's no winning here. I will tell you that the Nike Air is a very comfortable shoe, and I get them every once a year. I didn't last year because of COVID, so this is my first pair of shoes in 2 years. And I'm excited about it. And, not only, if you want to call them dad shoes, they're dad shoes, but they're also grandpa shoes. So how do you look at, no. You know what? This bothers me. This upsets me. Obviously, you see this upsets me. All right, these are not dad shoes, okay? They are not. Dad shoes are Skechers. Dad shoes are New Balance. Dad shoes are no-name brands that you get from Walmart because they're cheap and it's buy one, get one free. Those are dad shoes. Nikes are not dad shoes. And these are not walking shoes that you need with a walker. These are Nike Air. I can jump to the moon in them. I can run. I can frolic. They are not dad shoes.
Lonzo, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to put one of those shoes back up on screen. I need one of those shoes back up on screen and hold it there. Yep, there we go. I need you to just hang out there for just a second. Beautiful. Okay, perfect. I needed to screenshot that because we are putting up on the Twitter poll, is Lonzo rocking dad shoes or not? And I can go ahead and tell you, of all the polls that we have run,
forget you, Brian. You are wrong. They are not dad shoes.
They're dad shoes.
And then my daughter jumps in just to notice that this conversation, which I told her that if it was brought up, I would definitely discuss this. They are not dad shoes. All right, throw your shoes up. I want to see your shoes. Get your legs up there. Let me see. Or just take one off. Now, there is that. You could do that. That
is not a dad shoe.
That is lazy, is what that is. That is, I don't know how to tie my shoes, so I need a slip-on. No. That's a COVID shoe. That's what that is absolutely a COVID shoe.
This is what the kids do, right?
Oh, well, the kids are lazy then. So I guess if that makes me a dad mentality, then it does. And I'm sorry I'm so angry and animated about this, but this bothers me.
First off, you're lucky I'm wearing shoes at all. If we're being honest, I work from home. It's an absolute shock.
I was going to ask you, why the heck are you wearing shoes, dude?
The only reason I'm wearing shoes is because the little brother was in town for the weekend, and I had to bring him back to the airport for him to fly out early this morning. So I had to put on shoes, and I've just been too lazy to take them off since I got back here. But just so that we are abundantly clear, Lonzo's wearing dad shoes. And this is the most animated Lonzo has been since he started on this freaking show. It's because of his dad shoes. All right.
I forget this, okay? Here's what I want to do. I want to make the entire hour about dad shoes just to make the boss mad. Because I like that, just to say I'm back. But you're wrong. Should I look up what dad shoes are? Because I know this is going to be Skechers. I mean, there's no doubt. You and I had this conversation about Skechers 2 weeks ago before I went on vacation. You may not even recall, but the fact that it was mentioned to me about the dad shoes at home made me think of that conversation. That's what sparked all this anger. I'm sweating in this room because I'm mad about the dad shoes. They're not dad shoes.
I'm going to the Twitter poll right now. Question of the day is Lonzo, and you guys in the chat, put in your votes. I will compile them all. I will go out of my way to do the math here.
This is a dishonest poll because people who are watching this see how animated I am and they would like me to continue further until I stroke out. So they're obviously going to say that they are dad shoes just to tick me off. I know how this works.
They're dad shoes. All right, so 844. No, why am I giving out the phone number? You guys are watching. You can't call in. We don't have phones running today. Leave your thoughts in the chat. We're going to address those. All right, let's take a look at some of the bracket results. And though we would obviously be remiss if we did not talk about your Ohio State Buckeyes getting bounced from the tourney in the first round, a little bit shocking in round number 1. I had your Ohio State Buckeyes not just in the Final Four, Lonzo, not just in the Final Four. I had them in the national championship game, and they get bounced in round number 1 by a 15 seed. Granted, turns out the 15 seed's pretty damn good, becomes the second 15 seed in NCAA tournament history to make it to the Sweet 16 after Oral Roberts also knocked off Mark Ryan's Gators yesterday. But, I mean, as fun as it is, Zoe, to mock Mark Ryan for his Gators getting bounced by Oral Roberts, the Golden Eagles out of Oklahoma. The only reason they had the opportunity to do so was because they bounced your 2-seeded Buckeyes in the first round, Zoe. And so my question to you, in the most eloquent way that I can put it as a sports talk broadcaster is this, Lonzo. What the hell, dude?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, we had talked about Ohio State a couple of weeks ago, and you're like, well, they look pretty good. And yeah, and then soon after they started losing. So it has nothing to do with anything, but they lost, I think it was 4 games coming into they looked good in the Big Ten tournament, even though they lost in the championship game. I'm not completely shocked. Here's what I think happened. I think they came in, I believe they were a 17-point favorite. I think it's a classic thing. You come in taking the opponent lightly, going, yeah, we're just going to walk over these guys. And then they found out that they're quicker, they shoot better. And I think they were lackadaisical at the beginning, and they just could not pull it together. And they were missing one of their major players. And, injury is a part of the game. And then they lost. And you know what? I watched the majority of it, but I have plans to go somewhere. So I was listening in the car to ESPN Upstate, where you can hear all the games, by the way. I was listening in the car. So I was meeting my family for a meal. I walked in to said meal, and this is relevant, trust me, wearing my Ohio State jacket. As I walk in, one of the greeters, waitresses, I'm not quite sure what they're called, the ones who stand around and they take you to your table.
Yep.
She's like, hey, are you all right? That was rough, wasn't it? And it's just like, you think that they're not paying attention to the basketball, but everyone's paying attention to it. So immediately after they lost, I had to deal with that. And you know what? I think it comes to if Oral Roberts would immediately went and lost to Florida and got their butts handed to them, and they were down by quite a bit for a while, then it would be a different story. But I think they're proving that they're a really good team with good shooters, and they're a quick team. They like to run. And while the loss is somewhat embarrassing, it's understandable when you see what that team is actually doing on the court right now.
So Oral Roberts is one of the best shooting teams in the country. And Ohio State, who is not an awful shooting team, 5 of 23 from three-point range, 9 for 18 from the line in an OT loss. It just would fall. And you're not the only ones, right? Like, I'm watching last night, Oklahoma State and Oregon State. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, an Oregon State team that one of us here on the show tried to tell y'all was going to make some noise, but then also I picked Oklahoma State to beat Oregon State. So screw the pooch on that. If I'd have listened to my own and so and real quick, as an aside from my brand Ron, who said the only thing I got right was my first thought of UNT winning the first game, but I listened to you, ! I would only have a bottom 10% bracket if I got that one instead of a bottom 8% bracket as it is now. Still funny. Yeah, I get it. It kind of is what it is. So
I want to interrupt again because it's so much fun. You said one of us on the show. I want to point out that I was not here. So you're implying that I would have went against you, which I probably would not have. But I am one of those people who didn't fill out a bracket this year, so I'm not upset like everybody else in the entire country.
No, it's I was more saying that sometimes Rob Brown knows what he's talking about. In fairness, sometimes he doesn't. But what are you going to do about it? Yeah, that little team that could in Oregon State. I took him over Tennessee. Y'all call me crazy. I was going to take him over Oklahoma State, but the Cowpokes looked really good coming into this tournament. Knocked off Baylor on the road there. I just thought they were a little better. But to circle back around to what we were talking about a second ago regarding Ohio State, what I'm saying is in this tournament, which this tournament has been absolutely wild so far, and I've loved it. What we're seeing is that there are just some really good teams having off nights. Last night, Oklahoma State was that group. That's a good basketball team that probably 9 times out of 10 beats the Beavers of Oregon State, but they just couldn't get the brown thing and the round thing. It happens. It's just the way basketball goes, which is why March is March, and it's not always true that the best team wins the national championship, and you're seeing that. So it's not that. And look, I'm going to say this: if there was anywhere in the bracket, if there was a spot that you could have reasonably expected a 2 seed to lose their 2-15 matchup, it was 100% Ohio State versus a good Oral Roberts team that probably was underseeded. If we have to be honest, there were 3 or 4 teams out there that were underseeded. Cleveland State, Iona, both 15s. Alabama didn't look great up against Iona, but Rick Pitino is obviously going to have his team ready to go. And Grand Canyon U. The unfortunate part, Zoe, is you guys drew a 15 seed that probably reasonably should have been probably a 12 seed, maybe an 11. I mean, they deserved better seeding than they got. You guys fell into a trap game. It was not. I mean, it was a surprise for me that Ohio State lost. I thought they would have run the bracket if they got by that. In fact, like I said, I had them in the championship game. But you guys drew a 15 seed that was really more of an 11 seed, and it didn't work out sometimes. By the way, our buddy Drew, this is Drew that filled in for Lonzo last week, said we called on Oregon State. Tennessee sucked. Yeah, I try to tell y'all. Tennessee was getting more hype than they deserved. Oregon State was not getting enough. In fact, Drew, and you'll remember on the show last week, I had an entire internal monologue about whether or not we should have taken Oregon State over Oklahoma State. I wish I would have. I just convinced myself that the Oklahoma State team that knocked off Baylor would be able to get by Oregon State. But that's a good little Oregon State team. Super scrappy. Drew, appreciate it, man. Thanks for joining us. Go ahead, Zoe. We can't hear you, by the way.
You know what?
I don't know what.
I don't know why I don't know why I'm. You know, it's habit.
Why are you pushing that button? Yeah, exactly.
It's habit. It's absolute habit. I just want to point out that Drew may or may not be one of those people who leaves their social media logged in.
Oh no!
Yes,
Drew, you may have made a drastic mistake.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, he's new though, so I'll give him. I don't believe I've had that conversation with him about logging out your social media, but I think it's a good habit to do.
Do we give him a pass from the viewers? Do we give him a pass? We are still looking. We have at least one, possibly more people who have left their social media open on the ESPN Upstate studio. If you are watching this stream, drop into onto the chat, whether you're watching on Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube. Drop into the chat a funny message that Lonzo should leave up on the news feed of any and all of the ESPN Upstaters who left their social media open there in the studio. Whoever makes us laugh the harder, the harder. What is wrong with me today? Because I don't have a regular radio rhythm going right now, Zoe, I'm just losing it. This is new to me.
There's no pressure, and I may or may not be interrupting you on purpose just to mess with you. I'm not doing that. Well, you know what? I am doing that. You know why? You know why I'm doing it, and we'll continue to do it the rest of the show? Because of the dad kicks.
The dad kicks that you are definitely wearing.
No, I'm not.
My buddy Chris back in the 850 checking in. Fear the Turtle as Maryland makes it on to the second round. I got to tell you, Chris, if Maryland's able to knock off and get a dub in the second round over Alabama, that would be a huge win. I've got Alabama as just one of, I think I'm out, I got to go look at my championship. My Final Four is Gonzaga, Alabama, Ohio State, and Illinois. Zoe, I am down to having just 2 final teams remaining in my Final Four. I need Zag and the Roll Tiders to get to the Final Four just to get 50%. And here's the thing. When I was talking to my little brother about this last night. He's a Florida fan as well. And so as I was mocking him about his team losing, he said, based on what you're telling me about your picks, your bracket looks like it's pretty much in shambles. And I said, this is weird because a lot of the teams that were 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 teams that I picked won. And I don't feel bad about it because Ohio State and Illinois were in the Final Four in like 70 some odd % of ESPN brackets. If you get 2 of the Final Four right now, you're going to come out ahead of a heck of a lot of brackets. If I was right about an Alabama team that, again, just kind of looked a little shaky against Iona. But again, Iona coached by Ricky Pitino, you know that they're going to be ready for that. If I was right about Alabama and Gonzaga, even losing 2 of my 4 Final Four teams in the first 2 rounds, though, I still might come out okay at the end of this thing.
I think in the end, it comes down to, did you pick the champion? I mean,
I am still alive. Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. I mean, if you win the whole thing, you don't have to point out all that you didn't get the Final Four. You just accurately say, hey, I picked the team that's going to win the whole thing. And in the end, that is all that matters, unless you're like winning money on each little pick or anything like that, which I don't know if you are or
like
not.
The point brackets. So if you're in a point per, you get 1 point for a first round pick, correct? 2 for second, 3 for third, whatever. Then it comes into play a lot.
If I may, real quick.
Yeah.
Just to interrupt again because of the dad kicks.
Well, you're the host today. I'm the producer.
Well, someone who's in a later time slot mentioned me in a Twitter comment, and I did not comment because I was hoping to get a chance to do it on the air, but I'll do it here. Shout out to Abilene Christian.
Yes, knocking off the Longhorns, man.
The Platypi from Butte, Montana.
The Platypi.
That's right. They're doing really, really well.
Yeah, Abilene Christian with so we talked about, and you were out last weekend, Zoe. You were out last weekend, but I did a list of potential upsets to keep an eye on. And that was one of them that I mentioned, Abilene Christian. And there's always these fun little things that we don't always take into consideration. Oral Roberts is one of them. Abilene Christian is one. Abilene Christian sits right in the middle of Texas Tech, Houston, et cetera, right in the middle of 3 or 4 basketball powerhouses. And their roster is mostly comprised of guys who didn't get recruited to those schools, right? They were kind of cast-offs. You don't deserve our time. So a team like an Abilene Christian comes into that game, and these things are kind of hard to really think about and gauge when you're filling out the bracket. But teams like Abilene Christian, when they get a matchup against a Texas or a Houston or a whatever else, they have a little something else. They got a little something left in the powder keg for a team like a Texas. And you could tell, I mean, down the stretch, Abilene Christian was banging with the Longhorns. They were preventing the Longhorns they knew what Shaka Smart wanted that team to do, and they took it away and said, if you're going to beat us, you're going to have to do something incredible. Absolutely a shout out to Abilene, the Abilene Christian out of, I don't even know where they play. It's not Butte, Montana. They're in Texas somewhere.
They are in Texas. I do have a question for the listeners or people who are watching. Will you stop filling out a bracket if the Final Four is Abilene Christian, Ohio University, Loyola, Chicago, and Oral Roberts?
That's got to make the most compelling Final Four of all time, right?
For sure.
It won't be. It won't be. But if it was, that becomes the most compelling Final Four of all time.
You could say it won't be, but, a few days ago, people would say none of those teams would have made it out of the first round. So, and the way these all these teams, I mean, there's not a lot of blowouts from what I've seen, or at least the games that I've been able to watch. They've all been really close games, very compelling. So what I just said is a possibility.
Sure is. Absolutely is. I'm not banking on it, but it is a possibility. Here's another fun one for you. One team that I really like coming in this tournament were the Boilermakers of Purdue. I thought Purdue was going to be a monster in this tournament. And instead, with 5.8 seconds left on the clock, Javion Hamlet stood on the opposite end of the court as the free throws were being shot. His North Texas team was going to win, and you could just see in his eyes that he was thrilled. And here's a fun little tidbit, Zoe, for the 6 people who care that are paying attention. Javion Hamlet played JUCO ball at a little school called Northwest Florida State College down in Niceville, Florida. I actually called play-by-play for Javion Hamlet's JUCO days down at Northwest Florida State. And so his North Texas Mean Green took to the floor and upset Purdue and caused a little more bracket turmoil over there. These tournaments are made fun especially when you have those personal connections, right? Like I'm pulling for Javion Hamlet. I love this kid. And he is that kind of perfect mix of confident but not cocky, right? He went into the press conference and he sat down and he said, that's why I told y'all, don't ever doubt me. Don't ever doubt me, because he blew up in that game. The Mean Green of North Texas knocking off Purdue was another bracket buster, because I know some folks that had Purdue making their way into the Elite Eight out of that side of the bracket. But my guy from Northwest Florida State College ends up going ham and bringing North Texas in. This bracket, Zoe, despite it being weird, obviously, because we've still got the COVID restrictions, there are fans in attendance, but you don't see them on the normal cam, right? Because they got basically these guys playing down in a well to keep them away from the audience, because as we saw with VCU getting shipped home and Oregon getting the round of 32 pass into the Sweet 16.
Oregon, who's presently winning against Iowa 27-24, by the way.
Which is that's a good Iowa team with Luke Garza there. But another one, you boy, who was it? Who told y'all to keep and look out on the Oregon Ducks? That team's no good. Who do I have, Lonzo? Who do I have taking on Gonzaga in the Elite Eight?
I don't know.
Oregon Ducks, baby.
All right.
That's a hot shooting team. Speaking of, while I got you, just because, like I said, I like to talk about the fun stuff. There's a kid playing for Oregon. I want you to keep an eye on him. He just put in a nice little jumper. His name's Chris Duarte, number 5 for the Ducks. Chris Duarte played alongside Javion Hamlet at Northwest Florida State College. I actually called Chris Duarte's JUCO ball as well. He's on the free throw line right now, averaging 16.7 for the Fighting Ducks. Chris Duarte is a heck of a baller and a heck of a shooter as he dumps another one down, and the Ducks are up 30-24. Watch this Oregon team. I've got them in the Sweet 16, and I am 0% surprised by this. I was a good little basketball team, but if Luke Garza is not on his game, they will lose. And right now they're trailing the number 7 Ducks right now.
You know, I would never kiss up to the boss, but I also would never say that Iowa, who the boss roots for, is a good little basketball team.
It's Luke Garza and some other guys, man. I mean, it is. And we saw that in their conference tournament.
Obviously, they are a stellar powerhouse, and they deserve to go all the way.
No, I will take the heat. I will take the heat. Mark Hendricks, I'm looking at you. Your team is a one-man show, dude. It's Luke Garza, and it's nobody else. That's the problem. See, here's the thing. And this is one thing I look for when I'm filling out brackets. And I told you all this last week when we talked about my bracket on the air. Zoe, it is underappreciated. There are 2 ways to win in college basketball. You either win because you got a one-man band, and that guy is just so damn good. Carmelo Anthony back in the day at Syracuse. You either get a one-man band who kicks everybody's behind from start to finish, or you got an incredible basketball team. You can't have like a pretty good team and a pretty good player. You got to have one or the other. This Oregon team is damn good as a team. Damn good as a team. And by the way, it's super good to know that our boss is clearly watching and participating in the show now. I was just joking, Hendricks. So I was amazing.
Wow. Are we backing down?
No, not at all. Not at all. Look, I'm watching the game like you, although it is now 30-30. Although my dude Chris Duarte drops another 30-30 Ducks.
You know, normally I would take your side, but because of the dad kicks, I must be your enemy today.
It's not my fault you decided to rock dad kicks.
They're not dad kicks.
They're absolutely dad kicks. They are by definition dad kicks.
Well,
I need to check the Twitter poll, by the way, because
is there an Urban Dictionary? Let me look up Urban. Go to Urban Dictionary and see what it says about dad kicks, and it's probably a mistake. And I probably will have to talk to engineering afterwards. But you know, I'm willing to do that.
I'm just saying they're dad kicks. All right. We're not going to keep revisiting this.
All right. Well, you know what?
You just have to accept it.
You know what, Rob? Next time I go buy shoes, maybe you can go with me and help me figure out. Okay, just to point out, that's a dad kick. That's a dad kick. That's a dad kick. All I care about is they look cool to me.
Chris Madden says those should be called Grill Master 3s. At Jason, Jason Mitchell says, do you keep your cell phone in your fanny pack or on your belt clip?
All right. Now I'm ticked again. I have never in my life worn a fanny pack, nor shall I ever. And if you wear a fanny pack, there's something wrong with you.
We're not done. Michael Stathakis says those shoes are great for when you need to go just mall walking, but you might also hit Home Depot just because you can find some time. And Jake Thompson asked if he's wearing dad shoes, says, and I quote, "Oh, for show." I'm just saying, it's consensus so far, Lonzo. Consensus.
Yeah, I knew they'd come at me. I knew they would. You know what? I don't care. I paid good money for these shoes.
Sure you did.
I enjoy the shoes. They look good. They look good on me, which most things do. So I'm all right with it. But I don't get the dad kicks thing.
Y'all brought out the ego monster.
I don't know why that I'm offended by this, but I am offended by this.
Ladies and gentlemen, Lon's ego.
I might need some therapy after today.
I mean, what do you expect from the guy who refers to himself as the alpha and the omega of sports talk radio? It just is what it is.
No, I'm the alpha and the omega of ESPN Upstate. Not the entire sports talk radio. The host that comes on after us thinks that he's that guy.
Oregon, back-to-back threes now lead Iowa 36-34, 7:14 left to play. So I ask you this. So what else from the first round stood out to you? What else is it right now that you're looking at in the first round that made you kind of go, wow, that was unexpected? Is there anything else that jumped out?
I think we've already talked about it. Abilene Christian, Ohio University, I think, is having a good showing also. And it still comes back to Oral Roberts. I think they are the biggest surprise. Although, as I was watching the game, learning that they have like the number one scorer in college basketball, that kind of, at least that's what the guy said on TV. And on the radio, actually. So it must be true because people say things that are true on the radio. So if you have the guy that's the number one scorer in all of college basketball, you're probably going to be pretty good.
Coming up, by the way, in second round action today, we've obviously got Oregon and Iowa underway right now. We're back to square, 36 a pop, 6:20 left in the first. Coming up later on in the day at 2:40 this afternoon, Oklahoma, the Boomer Sooners, the 8 seed, looking to upset the undefeated Gonzaga Bulldogs. That's going to be at 2:40 this afternoon. Then at 5:15, Abilene Christian, the Mighty Purple, takes on UCLA, a play-in team. And who told you take the play-in 11 to make it to the second round there? Also, your boy, Abilene Christian taking on UCLA at 5:15. 6:10, we'll have the Bobcats of Ohio, another upset team. How about Ohio? I got to tell you, Zoe, Virginia goes 16-1 loss, national championship, first round exit to an 11 seed. Virginia is the definition of inconsistency at this point. You got to hate being a Who's fan right about now, Virginia fans. That's rough.
That is rough, but I'm okay with it. I made the mistake, by the way, of looking up dad kicks, and the first thing that popped up on Urban Dictionary, I didn't click on it. I hate that I keep doing, but it's daddy kink. So I'm definitely not clicking on that because I don't want to know what that is. Do you know what that is, Rob?
I do know what that is.
See, that's sad. That's sad that you know what that is.
That if you look that up, it may very well offend your delicate sensibility.
I am not clicking on it. I'm not. It's so dad kicks are not showing up anywhere. Pumped Up Kicks by Foster the People are better
that
run,
is
better
the
run.
Happiest song about a mass shooting.
Yes, it is. Hear. It is. It really and there are many different versions out there. Some of them are.
I really kind of want to make you read the definition of.
I'm not good. I know.
Really kind of want to make you read it.
I know we were. But I don't want to click on it. All right, I'll click on it.
I really kind of want you to have to read it. I don't know if we can get away with that.
All right. Well, we're online, so yeah, but my daughter's watching. I don't. Yeah, I can't do that. Okay, I'm gonna read it. All right, when your girl has a daddy kink, she will call you daddy as you're doing that thing.
First of all, I don't believe that's word for word what that definition says.
I could have went further, but that's basically what it's saying. And see, when I see this and what it's talking about, all I think of is what's your name? Who's your daddy? Does he look like me? Now that is an old quote from an old song, and Rob may even not even know what that is.
Does he look like me?
And there again, he might.
You're very welcome, Lonzo.
By the way, when the Zombies were made into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, dudes are like all like 70 something. They still can play.
Yeah,
they're really good.
Yeah,
so
those old guys can still bring it.
But so they were talking about that back then. So that's exactly what this is. So yeah, but I read it, some of it.
Brian says Google dad shoes in the example pics show Zoe shoes. I'm just saying, Zoe.
No, there's no way.
I'm just saying. You know what? Watch this. Watch this fun thing that we can do here. Since we are virtually only today.
I'm calling bullcrap. All right, there they are. There they are, actually.
All right, so here we go. I'm gonna go over here to Google, and at the risk of something auto-filling up, no, y'all don't need to see my email. I just need regular Google here. At the risk of
no, he's right. He's right.
Dad shoes.
He's right. It's right there, right there at the bottom in the middle.
Let's see where are
they're the exact ones that I have on.
Right there. 5 dad sneakers that real life dads wear. I want to click on that dads actually wear. Screw it. Let's just take a look at what hypebay.com has to say. The Nike Air Monarchs. Do those look familiar to Alonzo?
Yeah, and I didn't want to get those because I wanted to get the black ones, but the black ones, I couldn't find them in wide, and I have wide feet, so if it's narrow, it's not comfortable. So my wife can attest. I stayed there a long time. These are not the shoes I wanted.
But they are the shoes you have.
They are the shoes I got.
And
You're
according to our listeners and hypebay.com, Zoe, do you concede?
You know what? No, I don't concede. Who in the world? I mean, who gives you the authority, Hype Bay or whoever you are, to tell me what is dad shoes? So no, I will never concede. You know what's cool? Whatever I decide is cool. These shoes are cool because I'm wearing them.
Lonzo.
To quote the Mandalorian, I have spoken.
There's a very funny meme on the internet about Principal Skinner from The Simpsons, in which he says, "Am I out of touch?" And the second panel is, "No, it must be all the kids who are wrong." You're Principal Skinner right now, buddy. That's where you are.
I'm more famous than Principal Skinner.
All right. So that being said, so we're through here.
That is a good point.
There we go.
Now Rob is back. Were you able to hear Rob during that little bit, or was no? I know you were able to hear because we're connected a different way. It doesn't mean that the internet could hear it.
I got booted, and my friend Carter says, "Zoe, we've all wanted to do that for years." Thanks, Carter. Miss you too, buddy. Miss you too. Were you guys able to hear me while I was out of the stream? That's the question that we need to know. Okay, no, perfect. Thank you very much.
So it was just me answering. Man, I wish I would have known that. I would have said all kinds of fun stuff. He still could have heard me, but you know.
All right, so so let's take a look. Rest of the bracket as it's updated right now. We know Zaga's on to the second round. They're taking on Oklahoma. Creighton knocks off UCSB. Ohio, the 13th seed, knocked off Virginia. We talked about them just a moment ago. Virginia bookends a national championship with a pair of first-round exits to double-digit seats. USC knocks off Drake. Kansas moves on barely. They had a scrap against East Washington. Their game is going to be at 9:40 tonight. Zoe, one more time to complain, as I have the right to do. I want to be abundantly clear. Eastern time sucks so bad. It sucks so bad. I hate it so much. Last night, I'm watching the Oregon State-Oklahoma State game. That game ended, Zoe, at 12:40 in the morning. And it's not just that's when the game ends, but that game was incredible. So my adrenaline was spiked at 12:30 in the morning. Not okay, man. Not okay.
Show ended at 12:30. I already had my Geritol and was already getting kind of sleepy. And how am I supposed to go to sleep after all that? Who's sounding old now? It's not me. It's 12.
Big talk from the guy in Air Monarchs.
Whatever. And I still stay up to 1 a.m. every night, and I'm not complaining about the time change. So, I mean, there's that.
Big talk from the guy in Air Monarchs. All right. So rest of the bracket as it stands right now. Oregon taking on Iowa right now. Iowa with a 1-point lead, 39-38. That's your West bracket. Over in the South, Baylor just absolutely smokes Hartford. Wisconsin. You know, I thought North Carolina would give a little something else, a little something there to the Tar Heels. I had North Carolina moving on. It doesn't matter because either one of them was going to end up losing to Baylor when it's all said and done. Villanova gets by North Texas in the second round. So Baylor and Villanova are both into the Sweet 16. Arkansas, joined by Oral Roberts. Arkansas was another team that I told you to keep an eye on that side of the bracket. Your boy had Arkansas in the Sweet 16 taking on Ohio State. Thanks to Zoe's Buckeyes absolutely falling apart. I've got Arkansas moving into the Sweet 16, but falling to Ohio State. So I'm kind of getting the short end of it there, but they'll be joined by the Golden Eagles of Oral Roberts. Sweet 16 also set down in the Midwest. After Illinois knocks off Drexel, they fall to... By the way, whose idea was it to have a team, Lonzo, with a mascot like the adorable Sister Jean playing on a Sunday? Look, Sister Jean, 11 months out of the year, 11 months out of the year, is this sweet, kind little old lady. And then in March, Lonzo, Sister Jean is kicking down doors with machine guns blazing. The Rattlers of Loyola Chicago find themselves moving on, knocking off Illinois. And now, Lonzo, you've got an 8-12 matchup in the Sweet 16 with Loyola Chicago taking on the Oregon State Beavers. I am suddenly compelled by the Midwest. By the way, Rutgers, who knocked off Clemson 60-56, falls to Houston by 3. If Clemson was to have gotten by Rutgers, are you going to tell me, and I said this all week, get by Rutgers, Clemson, get by Rutgers, and you got a chance to beat the Cougars of Houston? I believe that. Rutgers barely gets by Clemson, then they go out there and fall just shy of Houston.
It's not skill, it's mentality. This is what they do every year. So if they would have gotten past Rutgers, they would have lost in the next round. There is no one out there surprised that they lost to Rutgers. Even the biggest Clemson fans, they know deep in their heart, they were just waiting. They were just waiting for it to happen, and it happened. Good thing you got it out of the way early, and now you can go watch spring football.
You know, it's so damn frustrating because when Clemson fell to Miami in the ACC tournament, second round, Clemson got the first round bye, second round against Miami. That's a Miami team that had no business. That's a good little Miami team. And I said on Twitter, you can go back and check the ESPN Upstate Twitter feed. Right before that game tipped, I said, look, here's the deal. This is a better Miami team than they're getting credit for. They were bit hard by the injury bug. They were suffering because of injuries all year, and now they're healthy. They got a good mentality. This Miami team is going to be a good team. But if Clemson comes out there mentally tough, they should be more talented. They should win. Instead, Clemson just made mental mistake out. Miami tried to hand them that game, Lonzo. Miami turned the ball over not once but twice inside of the final 40 seconds of that game, up by a pair, and Clemson could do nothing with it either time. It was maddening frustrated. So I said, hey, look, maybe, I'm hoping maybe, for Brad Brownell's sake, to be honest with you, maybe, just maybe, losing that game to Miami, maybe it pops something into Clemson's head, right? Maybe it pops something into Clemson's head, show them what they need to get ready, get that mentality good, because if they can beat Rutgers, they would have a shot. And Tracy says, Tracy down here in the chat says Clemson would not have beaten Houston. Look, I saw that Houston team get taken to the wire by Rutgers, all right? I firmly believe after watching that game, Clemson could have beaten Rutgers, but here's the deal, Zoe. I've said this before. I hate to say it. It makes me feel bad because Brad Brownell, by all accounts, is a really solid dude, good bro, guy that goes out of his way for his players, and I love all that. But this Clemson team has zero mental toughness when it comes to tournament time. If they got by Rutgers and built some mental toughness, they could have beat Houston. I believe it because of the way that Rutgers took Houston to the wire. And if they had done that, Zoe, they would have been the highest remaining seed in that side of the bracket, and they just again mentally fell apart.
Yeah, but you're talking about mental toughness. That's not built by one victory. That's something that you get through practice, through an entire season, and then you come to whatever tournament with it. You don't find it after one game, and they just don't have it. And you're right. He seems like a good guy and everything, but Clemson doesn't care about basketball that much. They more care about football, and obviously they should care about football because they're doing so well. But I think when you have a championship team, you should expect all your teams, especially your major sports, to be on the rise and heading towards what your football team is doing. And they are not. It's just more of the same every year.
I gotta tell you, you have just sent me down a rant that you didn't know that you were going to send me down by saying that, Lonzo. I am so tired, so frustrated, so aggravated by the, well, we're a football school, we don't care about basketball. And that's for any school, anywhere. That is such a bad mentality. There is precisely zero reason, none at all, that as a school, you cannot have both look at that, Captain America Chris Evans from down the hall hanging out with us here on the day. There is precisely zero reason that a school cannot have a successful football and basketball program. There have been plenty of them that have done it. You're not. Here's the deal, man. And I've not that I'm going to say I've figured it out, but I understand. Why would you be a Clemson basketball fan right now when you know that heartbreak is inevitable? When you know that your team is going to build you up, Buttercup, all season long, just to let you down, and then worst of all, it's always in the tournament when it's all said and done, right? It's always in the tournament that they just don't have the mental strength, the mental fortitude to finish up games. And it's frankly, at this point, it's like, why would you set up all season long when you know that's going to happen? Clemson had no reason not to beat Rutgers. All right, I'm sorry.
See, I want to throw something out there. You just said about heartbreak. There's no heartbreak. That's the problem, because their heart, their soul, their entire being, their entire fandom is not behind the college basketball team. And if your heart's not in it, your heart's not going to break. If you're expecting something to happen and it does, why would you be saddened by it? They are used to this. Obviously, they like it. If not, they would be demanding something different.
I don't know. I mean, it's tough, right? Because on one hand, Brad Brownell played for an ACC, was set up to play for an ACC championship game last year, right? They were on the floor, literally warming up for an ACC final against an FSU team that they wouldn't have beat. And that's not a shot at Clemson. FSU had 3 lottery players on that team last year. I think FSU was, if not your national champion last year, they were a Final Four team. They were that good. But they were on the floor. So this is why it's frustrating. You know that Brad Brownell can get the team into the big spot, but then you just have games like you did against Miami in the ACC tournament, Rutgers in the first round. If Clemson beats Rutgers, I'm not saying they would have. I'm saying they could have beaten Houston. They could have been in the Sweet 16. And so, when I said coming into this tournament, Clemson's good enough to make it to the Sweet 16, had they done so, if Clemson made it to the Sweet 16 by knocking off Houston, which they could have done, they would have gotten the 11 seed Syracuse, a team they've already beaten in the regular season. And if they made it to the Elite Eight, they would have gotten either Loyola Chicago or Oregon State, the 8 or the 12 seed. So the bracket, this is why this kills me. The bracket was set up, Zoe. 2 good wins Rutgers, Houston. Clemson's a Final Four team. Just like that. The bracket opened up for them on the top half. They could have beaten Loyola Chicago. All right, it's a good little scrappy team, but they could have beaten Loyola Chicago. They could beat Oregon State. Loyola Chicago gave the best game of the year that they had. They got lucky in Georgia Tech, losing their big man going into the tournament, so they were able to knock off the Ramblin' Wreck. They gave it to Illinois, but you know there's going to be a hangover game, so you're going to get Loyola Chicago or Oregon State. Both of those teams are beatable teams by the Clemson Tigers if they show up. Zoe, I'll say this, and then we'll drop this and move on towards the end. I got to tell you, this is a tournament that should spark something for Clemson. Should. Because it opened up like a yellow brick road to the Final Four for you, and you blew it against a team you should have beat in Rutgers. I don't understand.
I don't have
the
the
Clemson fan. I'd be furious.
Yeah. Well, they're not, and I don't have the confidence that you do that if they got past the first round that they would continue on, because I've been here for a while and I've seen their record and seen what they've done, and this is what they do.
Fair enough.
It's unfortunate, and whether I pull for the team or not, I'm just pointing out what I've seen, and what I've seen as far as Clemson fans go. They're all in for football. But for basketball, they're just like, yeah, I want us to win, but, what can you do?
All right, other side of the bracket games we get in the second round today. We gave you the top half. Now to the East. Michigan knocks off Texas Southern. They move on. So does LSU. Watch at 7:10 tonight, Lonzo. The homework for the Rob Brown Show viewers, listeners, watchers, whatever. Your homework is to watch Michigan, LSU. Remember,
Wait. So you were asking me to watch Michigan?
Yes, and here's why. Zoe, I am going to tell you this right this very second. Some of y'all are going to call me crazy, and I accept that. I predicted Michigan, LSU in the second round, Lonzo, and I'm telling you now, LSU's going to win the game tonight. All right? LSU's going to win the game, and here's why. LSU has arguably, I'm not going to say definitely, arguably, the best starting five in the tournament remaining. Okay? They got 3 players. They're very similar to what FSU was last year. LSU has 3 players that are going to be, if not lottery picks, not further than 15, all right, in the NBA draft next year. Michigan is missing Isaiah Livers. He's just not going to be, he's hurt. He's banged up. He's not going to play. That's the one guy on that team that could have thrown a wrench into what LSU likes to do offensively with the best starting five. Now, LSU has no depth. Their bench looks like a high school team. All right. They got nothing coming off the bench. They're going to run their starting five at you for 30 minutes tonight. But Michigan doesn't have a ton of depth past their five either. And LSU's starting five is better than Michigan's starting five. Watch it tonight, Zoe, because you, with your team getting bounced in the NCAA tournament, will get a little satisfaction. I have it in my bracket. If you don't believe me, I made this pick pre-bracket. Go to Facebook and look at my bracket. I picked LSU to knock off Michigan tonight and take on FSU in the round of 8, Zoe. Watch that game tonight. There will be an upset. It is my one lock of the night.
Normally I would say that I would take joy in a loss of Michigan, but Michigan's not going to lose. Michigan's going to win the entire thing.
What happened? Okay?
I'm fine. I'm fine.
If Isaiah Livers was healthy for this tournament, I would not run you off for that take. They're not doing it without Isaiah Livers. Best player on the team. They're not doing it without him.
If you look at how all these other teams are dropping, all these big-time seeds are dropping, and you talk about how windows are opening up, Michigan doesn't need everybody to win the whole thing. And Michigan's going to win the entire tournament.
Michigan could be a Final Four team out of the East bracket, but they're going to end up against Gonzaga. I'm not taking Michigan to beat the Zags. Not going to do it. Let's see. LSU knocks off St. Bonaventure. They move on. We got LSU, Michigan tonight at 7:10. If there's a game tonight to watch, that might be it. The other one to keep an eye on, 7:45, Colorado, the 5 seed, taking on FSU, the 4 seed. Watch that game too, because Colorado was shooting lights out when they knocked off Georgetown. FSU got into a bit of a scrap against UNC Greensboro. FSU is a great defensive team that is hit or miss from the line. If they're shooting well from 3, this will be a freaking amazing game. If not, Colorado might very well knock off the 4 seed and FSU. Bottom half of that bracket, BYU gets knocked off by the play-in win UCLA. I am taking credit for that pick. I thought it would be Michigan State, but either way, I said either one of those teams can knock off BYU. The 11 seed advances to the second round to take on the 14 seed in Abilene Christian, knocking off Texas 53-52. UCLA v. Abilene Christian coming up tonight or this afternoon at 5:15 is going to be fun, because those are two teams that both got told y'all are first round exits. One of them has a spot in the Sweet 16. If there are two teams that are going to gut each other for a Sweet 16 bid, it's the 11-14 matchup out in the East.
Well, you know where my money is. Not money, but go Abilene Christian, without a doubt.
Going to be a fun one. Mick Cronin's UCLA Bruins, though, lockdown defense. Can they take away the interior from Abilene Christian? That'll be a fun. And then at 8:45 tonight, UConn swamped by Maryland. #fear the turtle. They move on. Alabama, again, got into a fight with Iona. I got Alabama advancing in this one at 8:45. But look, if the Maryland that beat UConn shows up, scrappy as hell, and the Alabama that fought against Iona shows up, that one could be very interesting as well. By the way, Steven, I hope you stub your toe today. I do.
I was wondering how long it was going to take you to notice that.
I hope you stub your toe. Not too bad. Nothing bad happens to you, but just that kind of stub where it just hurts for a minute or two. And then
is there a certain toe you would like in the stub, or just any of them?
Big toe, right foot. Most people are right foot dominant, and that's the one you got to bounce off of. I hope you stub your big toe on your right foot, Steven. Nothing bad, just like a minute or two of pain for calling me that again. I've forgotten all about that. And I just, I noticed you were wearing that, and I felt slightly guilty last time, when all that went down, but good memory.
No, you didn't. I did, absolutely. No, you didn't. I didn't. You know what I don't feel guilty about?
Lying about feeling guilty about it?
No, picking Michigan over LSU. Dad kicks.
#dad kicks. Speaking of, let's go check Twitter. Let's see if we got any more votes on our poll. Let's see. At Jokar Lotar says yes. Yes, he is. So it's not the overwhelming amount of votes that I thought it was going to ultimately be. But you are. It is consensus. You are wearing Dad.
So there are no votes for no. He is not.
None.
So it's retaliation. Exactly what I thought it was. This was just people trying to make me angry again. And you know what? I'm not going to let you guys dictate my emotional state.
It's not people trying to make you angry, though. It's just people agreeing that they're dad kicks.
No, they don't believe that.
They're dad kicks. All right. Now, the topic that Lonzo, now that we've addressed the bracket, we're going to be back tomorrow, and we will do more of this.
Are we sure we're here tomorrow? We're good?
No, I'm not sure. I'm just going to we will either be on the radio or streaming tomorrow. I don't know which one yet.
All right.
But we will either be on the radio.
No, we'll be on the radio tomorrow.
All right. So we're back on the radio tomorrow, which means we got to get this one out of the way. Before I say anything about it, Lonzo, I'm going to just hand the mic to you, and you nerds, this is the part you've been waiting for. We talked bracket. Now it's time, Lonzo. The floor is yours.
All right, we're going to discuss the Snyder Cut just briefly, but because I don't want to spoil too much, because Rob hasn't seen it, and there's probably some people out there who haven't seen it. We discussed this a lot on the Upstate Pulse Saturday night, 7 to 9 p.m., 106.3 WRD, in case you were curious. So first of all, I'm wondering about the advice that Rob gets from his friends about what is a good movie and what isn't a good movie, because I cannot fathom. And you will say that I'm very shallow and other things because of the whole dad kicks thing. I cannot fathom someone not liking this movie, especially with the way people slammed the original Justice League. It's a totally different movie. It is a completely different movie. Are there some scenes that are the same? Yes. I will tell you that fight scenes are fleshed out. You get more of it. Stories are fleshed out as far as characters go. It was rumored beforehand that Cyborg would be a much bigger deal in this, as he should be, and he was. Superman is Superman. And that's when, at the end, when Superman shows up, and if you saw the original, for the most part, the plot's going to be the same. When Superman shows up at the end, he is stinking Superman. And you're like, yeah, that is Superman. And it's worth it just to see Superman show up. And also, if you recall, did you see the original Justice League?
No, I couldn't watch it. I heard it was garbage and zero redeeming reviews.
See, I guess I'm one of those guys. If someone says something's really bad, I want to see for myself because I don't trust anybody else. I definitely don't trust Rotten Tomatoes. I'm
gonna interrupt you here one time, and here's why. I'll tell you why. And normally I'm the same way. So normally if I hear bad reviews, I'm still gonna try it anyway. Here's why. Because Batman v Superman was such a bad movie.
It was not that
it was
bad.
It was a bad movie. It was a bad movie. I'm sorry. We're gonna have to agree to disagree here. Batman v Superman was a bad movie. It was just a bad movie. And then basically everything else that they have done with DC has just been underwhelming for what should be arguably better for an adult than the Marvel movies. It's just been underwhelming. And when Batman v Superman, which should have been the best comic book movie of all, was so underwhelming, and then they're like, oh, you know what we need to do? More of that, but with more people thrown in. No, it lost me, which sucks because I want to like it. I watched a couple of scenes from Justice League, granted, out of context, but Batman v Superman was so bad it turned me off to everything else.
All right, so
and Suicide Squad, which was also an average movie.
Suicide Squad was pretty bad. I will say that Rob is a Star Wars prequel hater, and there's a certain genre of nerd that are they're populists. I'm going to go populists. They if it's popular to hate something, they hate them, and you may or may not fit in that. But I guess I'm implying because of dad kicks. So you fit into that. So as far as like Star Wars goes, there's no redeeming nothing in the prequels, even though there were really cool stuff in all of them. Same thing with Batman versus Superman. When Wonder Woman first appears and her music hits, which is just such a major thing. I love that theme music for Wonder Woman. When you see the Trinity there together, it's worth the entire movie for that. Were there some bad stuff on that? Yes, absolutely. There was some poor writing, but I will tell you, watching the Snyder cut will make Batman versus Superman. If you watch the extended Batman versus Superman, not the theatrical cut, but the director's cut, if you watch that after you watch the 4 hours of Snyder cut, it's not going to seem as bad to you. And again, Superman is Superman. It's so good. And they split it up into chapters. So if you don't want to watch in 4 hours straight, which I did, because I wanted to, they split it up so you can stop at a chapter and you can come back later and watch the next one, which we weren't certain that we were going to watch all 4 hours. But when we sit there, it's like, yeah, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going because but seeing the first one and then comparing this one to it, it's like, why? There's a reason why that petition was out there. There's a reason why the actors in the original one, both of them said, hey, we want to see the Snyder cut because the Snyder cut is so much better. This may be a trend of a lot of movies doing this, and hopefully it doesn't get out of hand. But dude, I would be shocked if you didn't make it through the first hour and go, yeah, this is pretty good.
Here's what I'll tell you. I'm going to give it a shot. I've gotten 3 or 4 reviews from friends of mine that I trust them. All right. And what I'll say is this: the 3 or 4 reviews I've gotten have been, it's better than the theatrical release, but really that's not that difficult to pull off. And that it's like a good watch if there's nothing else more compelling to watch. Like,
wow.
It's okay. It's a good watch if there's nothing else to watch. And that's from 3 or 4 different people. You were the only, you and who was it? You and Stephen Webb down here are the only 2
I
people
will say,
who have hit me with it is fire.
You are the only one that I've talked to so far who knows people who don't like it. And I run in a pretty big nerd circle. And everybody loved it that I know.
I also run in a nerd circle. And if we average our 2 circles together, the response is, it's good. Like, it's okay. It's better than the
Oh
theatrical.
no. If our circles go together, mine will outweigh yours in enthusiasm compared to your meh. My enthusiasm will win.
Here's what it feels like to me. So 2 nights ago, the little brother was here in town, and we went to a local establishment who shall remain nameless. And my little brother was like, dude, I just want a cheeseburger, man. I just want a cheeseburger and fries. So he ordered a cheeseburger and he asked for it medium rare, and it came out like really well done, right? So he sends it back. He's like, I'm sorry. My brother's not that guy. He worked in restaurant for years. He's not a food sender. He's like, if it's close enough, I'll just put up with it. He sends the burger back. He's like, I'm really sorry. I asked medium rare, and this is like past well done. I can't eat it. And the lady says, okay. And so she goes in the back and they bring him another hamburger. And this one is closer to medium rare. And he starts to eat it. And I said, how was the burger, man? And he says, well, ordinarily I'd be really unhappy with this burger, but compared to the hockey puck that I got in the last one, it's really good compared to that. That's what this seems like to me. The first Justice League was a burnt hockey puck of a cheeseburger. The second one is a pretty average cheeseburger, but you still got the taste in your mouth from the garbage cheeseburger. So relatively speaking, you're like, hey, it's pretty good. It's not. If you got that cheeseburger first, you'd be like, yeah, it's a pretty average burger. But because you still had your taste in the taste in your mouth of hot garbage, this one by comparison is like, oh my God, that's good. I kind of feel like that's what we're happening. It doesn't apply to you because you thought the first cut was good. And Zoe, of all the things that I've told you you're wrong about, that's got to be the number one.
Except for you didn't see it, so how would you know? So you're going by the opinions of others. And here's the problem. I think you are influenced by the people you consider influencers. And those people...
You have never been more offensive to me.
Yes.
Never than this moment.
Well,
Dad
good.
Shoes.
Good, dad cakes. So you go into something already you've already formed an opinion of something without going in open-minded and watching it with not hearing those voices from outside, but just with you watching. Now, you going in, you don't want to like this because your buddies said that they don't like it. So you don't want to like it.
Wait.
But I think you are willing to stand out in that crowd. You are willing to stand above them and say, no, you are wrong. This is a good movie, and I am proud to have seen it.
You are wrong, Zoe. I absolutely want it to be good. I want it to be great. I want it to be legendary because the Justice League deserves to be on par with the Avengers.
Let me ask you, are you good? I talked about Marvel hypocrites Saturday. Are you one of those guys who believes that you have to love Marvel and you have to hate DC?
No.
Because there are people out there who automatically slam anything DC because it's not Marvel, and they are Marvel people, and they are so limited in their humanity where they can only have one fandom of one thing, and I don't get that.
Listen, I will acknowledge that I am a Marvel guy, right?
But I love the Marvel movies, but you know what? I like the DC ones too. It's okay.
Right. I will admit that I'm a Marvel guy first, but I don't want to, nobody wants to hate Batman and Superman. And look, here's the deal. When
Marvel people do.
When my band plays, do you know the shirt? I wear a Wonder Woman t-shirt on stage when my band plays. Because
I've seen you've worn it on this broadcast before.
I love Wonder Woman. I just want them to be better. Here's the deal.
Hey, can you play the Wonder Woman theme song? Not the old one, the new one.
Probably.
Because I really like that.
Here's what I want. I want the Justice League movie to be as good as the Justice League deserves. And it should not be a movie where even my DC friends go, like it was okay. It was passable. It should be a movie, much like the first Avengers, much like Endgame, that becomes a national phenomenon because it's Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman and Cyborg and Flash kicking ass. That's what it should be. And it's not. And the Snyder Cut, here's the thing. When the Snyder Cut dropped this weekend, it should be the only thing that we are talking about, Zoe, and it's barely registering.
Barely registering to you in your circle, but to mine, everyone was talking about it, was so excited to get on the air and speak about it and heard nothing negative.
Brandon,
so
look, Read that comment, Zoe. Brandon just nailed it. After getting the hockey puck burger, First Justice League, why should I expect the second burger to be amazing? You send me a bad burger and then you go,
so what this comes down to, Rob, is you shouldn't watch it because you have already let everyone know that you're not going to like it no matter how good it is. It could be the most amazing movie you've ever seen in your entire life, but you're going to hate it because you hate it already and you haven't seen it.
No, you are completely misconstruing what I am saying. What I am saying is I want a damn fine cheeseburger because cheeseburgers are good and great and they should all be good. I want a damn fine cheeseburger. But when I walked into your restaurant, the first one you gave me was the hockey puck. And now what Zoe is saying is everybody else says the burger's going to be 5 stars. The waiter is at the table going me, I know that first was hockey puck, but this one's going to be the end all be all. It's going to be Wagyu beef, phenomenal. I promise you. And I'm sitting at the table, and what I'm saying is I really want this hamburger to be good. I really want it to be good. But you served me a bad one, Nate, but 5 minutes ago, so I have reservations about the next one being good. I hope I bite in to this burger, and it's just succulent and delicious with that good melted cheese that's melted but not too runny, right? That beef has still got the juice cooked into it. It's not too raw. It's just that perfect medium rare. That Duke's mayo, that big thick slice of tomato on top. The lettuce is just crispy. The bun doesn't get soggy. It takes in the moisture. That's what I'm looking for, Zoe. But you served me a garbage burger 5 minutes ago. It's understandable that I have reservations. I want to like it. I want it to be good. I just am not going to sit here and go, it's going to be great because Zack Snyder did it.
Here's my prediction. Rob will not watch this movie.
I will.
He will not. He will say, it's 4 hours. I just don't have time. Well, really what it comes down to is his buddies didn't like it. So he can't watch it because if he does watch it and he likes it, he's going against his buddies and he doesn't want to do that.
You have never frustrated me so much on a show, Zoe. Never frustrated me so much on a show. I'm glad people can see you laughing. Completely misconstruing me, Dad Kicks. Completely misconstruing me. All right. Zoe, anything else you want to throw in here before we call this bad boy a day?
No, I think we're good. I think we'll come back tomorrow. Rob just rolled his eyes. If you don't believe me, look back. He's going to say he's looking at his TV screen, and he's continually rolling his eyes.
No, today I rolled my eyes. I want it clear. Most of the time when you accuse me of rolling my eyes, I am looking at the TV, which is right ahead of me here at the Casa de Love. Today, I have rolled my eyes because this is the first time, Zoe, that you have ever, and I mean ever, thrown me under a bus like this, and I won't stand for it. I will sit for it.
You know, with the Dad Kicks, you just made a list.
Hashtag Dad Kicks.
You just made a list.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Read that last one. Read that last one before we go.
Great, Zoe. I could have went all day without. All right, that's it. The stream's over. The stream's over. Zoe, say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye. Watch the Snyder Cut.
Thanks for hanging out, y'all. Hope you enjoyed the stream, everybody except Steven. Thanks for playing along. We'll be back tomorrow. I think we're back to regular program tomorrow, so we'll do the full 3 hour on the air as well. Make sure you tell your friends if you enjoyed this. We're going to do more of it, both on and off the air. But share it around your social media. Coming up at 2 o'clock, so in about 40 minutes, I'm going to be joined right here back on the stream by head coach of the Greenville Triumph, Coach John Harks, to talk a little bit about the matchup they had this weekend against an MLS team. History in the making. So that's coming up at 2 o'clock. Then at 3 o'clock today, I will actually join Mark Ryan on a stream. We'll do a little digital offsides. We'll break down our bracket alongside Mark Ryan as well. So make sure you tune in there. Social media, Facebook.com/ESPN Upstate, Twitter.com/ESPN Upstate. You can join me on my Twitter at twitter.com/The Rob Brown Show and on YouTube at The Rob Brown Show as well. Be back in 40 minutes with John Harks, then back at 3 o'clock to talk basketball with Mark Ryan. All that coming up later on all our social media channels. Thanks so much for hanging out with us here on the virtual edition of The Rob Brown Show. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the social media style of ESPN Upstate. I'll see you back in a few minutes.